We are now being recorded as well. When I did adopt Windows 3.0, it was about the same time I started using a mouse. Now, I will soon illustrate one of the groups that I had belonged to. Windows 2000 came along, was not well received. And then we had Windows 95, which is definitely a plus, moved over to Windows 98, which had enhancements and improvements. Then we went to probably the best operating system that has been known in the last 20 years until recently, and that was Windows XP, particularly the professional version of Windows XP. Windows Vista came along. Other than occupying more memory than you had and slowing everything down, it was actually a very good operating system. Some of us used it for 3 or 4 or 5 years. I still have a computer. It doesn't have a screen. It's just the bottom part of a laptop that I have to plug into an external monitor. Still running Windows Vista. Incidentally, the support for Windows XP expired, or is expiring this in this time frame. It might be in the next few days, but it's done. And then came Windows 7. Now, interestingly enough, Windows 7, it's not just one operating system, but you had your basic, you had Home Premium, you had Windows 7 Ultimate, the one that I use, so you can download 35 different languages and operate in 35 languages. I only operate in 2. And then the Windows 7 Professional, which is really an excellent operating system. And I still have one computer with that. Then we went to Windows 8 with a lot of fanfare. And people wanted to know where the icon was in the corner to get the start button. Well, Windows 8.1 now is a reality. I have upgraded 6 computers to that, and I love it. Now, here are the 3 schools of thought that I refer to. There's the Scrooge approach. Recently, my wife and I and my sister and a niece attended the Christmas Story, and we watched at the Omaha Theater probably the most marvelous production of the Christmas Story I have ever witnessed. Absolutely phenomenal. Scrooge was beyond belief. The only paid actor in the group, but Scrooge was great. Obviously, Scrooge made the statement, "I will change only when I absolutely have to." Well, the visitation by those spirits during the night convinced him, and he does change. The idea behind the whole thing is that I'm going to get my money's worth, even if it means inconveniencing me or my employees. Now, if that's our attitude toward upgrading an operating system, hang on to your hat. Now there's the dreamer's approach. The pendulum swings to the other side. I don't care what the finances say. I just want to have fun and experience new adventures. And I look like a hero. A little bit of Charlie Brown here. Or I'll try anything new for the sake of change. Almost like Windows Vista. And then the third approach, which one I suggest, you use the business leader's approach. I will embrace change when it is to my advantage to do so. I will weigh business growth and workplace enhancements with employee morale, productivity, and cost of upgrades in mind. Now, we need a reality check before we go on. First, that reality check, do we go Apple or do we go PC? The reality is there are loyalties to each of these camps. Apple upgrades are about as frequent as are the Windows upgrades. Now, what works best in your situation is a balance of several factors. Compatibility to your current choice. If you're working in an office situation or a business situation, is uniformity paramount? In some situations it is. You just cannot tolerate having people using different operating systems? And then, do you allow personal choice, or do you require a company-mandated choice? It's all or none, folks. We're all going to go with Windows 7 or Windows 8, or we're going to stay with XP, even though the thing has expired, the support has expired. Now, there's some inherent capabilities of the various software programs, and obviously the availability of software. Most of us use Microsoft Office 2010. I have not talked to anyone who's gone to 13 yet and rented it, which is the way they are marketing that. Is there adequate processing speed? The days of 8088 processors are so dated. The idea that we can get by with it. I use, in fact, is this machine, well, this is an i5 machine. I have a couple i7 processors. They're wonderful. They are so much quicker. To me, they're well worth it. And then the idea of storage backups, and maximizing or optimizing your backups. If you're not backing up, you're in trouble. You are in serious trouble. Talk to you are listening to someone who spent over $400 trying to back up a single hard drive, and that is an expense I wouldn't wish on anyone. And I was only able to get partial recovery on that. So for $400 and some dollars. User friendliness. How much learning and training will be required when you make a choice of operating system? And is there support and willingness of staff to upgrade? Now, what I'm trying to do here with all this information is sell you the solution, and the solution will be Windows 8.1. There's actually an acronym that is used in the sales world, and it's DRAMA, drama. The D stands for demonstrate, which I'm trying to do. Then the R is recommend. The A, the first A, is arithmetic. What are the numbers involved in this? The M stands for measure. Can I measure a change? The change, is there a time saving? Is there morale saving? Is there a uniformity, conformity, some other advantageous change that we can measure? And then last of all, anticipate objections. Some people will in fact object to the change, and be able and ready to answer those. And hopefully in the course of my thoughts, I will do that. Now, the advantages of Windows 8.1. What am I doing? Oh, I've got that hangover. Thank you, baby. This is the first and very obvious thing. Your startup times for example, this i5 machine, or I'm using this other machine that's over here that is filming right now. That's a Core 2 Duo, which is about a 6-year-old technology. That starts up in 11 seconds. Well, if you can't wait 11 seconds when you used to wait 90 to 120 seconds, then you got an issue that I don't know how to solve. The next advantage to Windows 8 is there are literally now thousands of apps, these applications that are readily available. You just click on an icon for photos, you click on icons for news, for Facebook, for anything. I use an icon for my Quick and Home and Business software. I use all of those icons. It's the same as your smartphone. Obviously, there's a lot of compatibility between the smartphones and the new Windows 8.1. Next advantage is SkyDrive integration. I really didn't understand this until that computer, which has 7 days worth of music on it, and has been linked, is in Windows 8.1. Those are in the cloud. All of that music is in the cloud. I can go to another computer anywhere in my house with Windows 8.1, click on music, and listen to the music that's on that computer. That blows me away. I don't know about the rest of you, but that absolutely blows me away, that that cloud has given me that access. Better security and less obtrusive updates. Instead of being interrupted during upgrades, Windows 8.1 will put it off until you recycle or you turn off and then come back on the next time. And it's really nice. I do not have any of the newer touch screens on any of my computers. But what I have found is that the keyboard and the mouse function equally as well. So that objection is totally overcome. Now, the disadvantages. If your computer is more than 3 or 4 years old, it may not be suitable to upgrade to Windows 8.1. That's just a reality. So it may require some hardware changes. The cost on the upgrade at Costco is exactly $119. On eBay, you can get, if you're going from a Windows 7 or an XP or a Vista upgrade, it's available for $75 roughly, unless you are installing on a brand new uninstalled hard drive that has no operating system, and then you can get it for about $90 on eBay. There's a learning curve. That's a disadvantage. It's a very short learning curve if you have some help. And it's much longer if you insist on doing it all yourself. What else is new? Now, so when you make the decision to upgrade, make your operating system choice wisely. Windows 8.1 is a very worthy choice for most family and small business users. It won't fit everybody, but it'll fit almost everyone I know. Mr. Toastmaster.
Jim, thank you very much. Well, sadly, that was such a persuasive presentation, I cannot proceed with the planned bah humbug. Well done, sir. Very well done indeed. And an excellent example of the contrasting type of speech organization style. Well done, sir. I'm thinking about you. And I'm thinking about, are you a lover or a fighter? Now, there was a psychologist, lawyer, and philosopher went into a bar. And now you know that's a lie. That's a complete impossibility. What do those three individual occupations have in common? Love to argue. Love to argue. So those types might be fighters and not lovers. Let's see where this goes. So you and I have this choice. Is our goal to win? Or is our goal to be truthful? Do you want to be popular? Or do you want to be known as wise? Are you a lover or are you a fighter? Which is your goal? How are you alike? How are you like the psychologist, the lawyer, or the philosopher? The risk is that winning can become a lifestyle, can become almost addictive, can become such a habit, it spills over into every aspect of life. This is particularly true for psychologists, lawyers, philosophers, and athletes. this choice that you and I have to make, in some fields, starts with the desire to have one's name in print. Do you want to be remembered as the person who came up with the Big Bang theory? Psychologists compete for having theories named after themselves. Lawyers compete in the courtroom. Philosophers debate all the time as a lifestyle. So this winning can become your life. How do you think that affects relationships? Marriages, parent-child, friendships, things like this. You've heard the saying, win the battle and lose the war. With an argumentative lifestyle, you can win the argument and you can lose the relationship. Interestingly enough, if I were to give you that choice, would you rather be popular or would you rather be wise? Some might say, I'll go for both. First, I'll get popular, and then when I'm popular, I'll go ahead and get people to recognize my wisdom. The risk, of course, is in looking foolish. George Harrison, former Beatle, big project demonstrating his wisdom. All things will pass. Last album he ever did. So what is going to be your goal? Sadly, we have occupational hazards. If our job is competitive and we don't take this information into account, we can take our job personality out into the whole world of our interactions and relationships. Jim is at definite risk for preaching to his bride. And I'm at definite risk for counseling or psychologizing with mine. So we have that occupational risk as well. So there's the saying that you're familiar with, not to decide is a decision. It is to decide. And so you and I, as we come into the new year, have this opportunity to make this choice. Are you going to be a collaborator or a competitor? Are you going to be a lover or a fighter? You decide. Alan has been such an encourager about the value of everyone at every meeting should have an opportunity to speak. I'm going to let him dip into this stack of cards. First of all, you can take any cards you want. I know, he can't look, he just has to pick one. It's just like drawing from a deck of cards, just pick one. Okay, very good. All right, when you're ready, proceed.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, my question is, in your opinion, what is the best piece of music ever written? There's been many musicians in the world who have written many wonderful songs. And probably one of the most prolific, if not the best writer of music, who lived probably the shortest amount of time as being a musician, was a fellow by the name of Jimi Hendrix, who was very popular back in the late 60s. He started out as a young boy in Seattle who didn't really have much of a family structure, but his father bought him a used guitar. And for some reason, he took this guitar and he was able to produce music that had never ever been heard before, and it's probably never been heard since. He eventually went to the electric guitar and used the sheer volume and feedback of his instrument to create these sonic bombasts that people did not quite know what to make of back in the late 60s, and to this day he is regarded as one of the greatest musicians, electric guitarist that's ever been. He wrote many wonderful songs, and probably one of the ones that I like the most is a song called Little Wing, which is a story about a lady that he knew who, through all of her difficulties, was able to be actually a very, very wonderful person. There are many, many people who are known for many wonderful pieces of work, but for Jimi Hendrix, he was only around for maybe 4 years, but in those 4 years, he was very prolific and produced some wonderful songs using different instruments to break open the sonic aurora from being in the monotone one speaker to all of a sudden being this 5.1 surround sound, from going from black and white TV to color TV. And so he's probably the most prolific and the best musician that I've ever probably heard of.
Thank you. As a fellow who demonstrated to us how to tune a guitar,
Yeah.
I've got to say that probably we should accept Alan's authority, but in case you're not completely ready to do that, when Eric Clapton, before Jimi Hendrix died, when Eric Clapton was asked who was the greatest guitarist in the world, he said Jimi Hendrix.
Thank you. No small praise.
Yeah.
If the daytime high temperature had to be exactly the same every day of the year, what would you want that temperature to be? Certainly warmer than today. Or last week, I have to say. I went to Billings in order to go to the Oak Ridge Boys and hear them perform, much to against the advice of my husband, who said, go to a concert another time with them. Well, they have never done a Christmas concert. They had never done a show in Montana before this. It's not like I can just pick next week and go see the Oak Ridge Boys. And it was something my mom really wanted to do. So in spite of that way 20 below zero, I had my new to me car with all-wheel drive, and so we took it out on the roads, and we got there in fine style, maybe actually got 30 miles to the gallon because we were creeping along. But certainly I would vote for something much higher than 20 below zero. I would say, 70 is kind of the ideal temperature. It's going to be the same inside and out. But I do like the change in seasons. I just don't think they have to be quite as drastic as we've seen in recent days.
I thought that's what you were doing. If you were asked to create the ultimate vacation destination, where would it be located and what would it be like? Well, it would be hard for me to choose a definite one because when I was a nanny in 2001, the parents decided to move to Hawaii. I'd love to have a vacation in Hawaii just to see them again because I had taken care of their oldest daughter who was 8.5 months old when I started taking care of her for 10 years. And then they had a son 2 years later, about 1.5 years later. So it's about 2 years between them. So I'd love to go there. But another place I would like to go would be back to Kenya and Africa. Having lived there for 3 years, just to go back and see it again. And because I remember when I was in 6th grade, our teacher told us we had to make a picture of a map of any continent in the world. And I chose the continent of Africa. That was in 6th grade. And you had to put in all the desert area, the mountain areas, all the trees, and all the rivers, all the lakes, everything like that on it as you made it out of this little plaster putty stuff. And then you had to paint it to make it look like that. And as I did that, I remember seeing, as I did Lake Victoria, and after that I said, oh, I just love to see Lake Victoria. My parents didn't have hardly any money except just enough for us to feed us, all of us children with. And it was interesting because after a while I just never would be able to go there anyway. But when I got married, and the first time it was in 86, we went to Africa's missionaries right up in Kenya. And it was a ways to go to Lake Victoria, but we drove over there. And I did get to see Lake Victoria in the last year we were there. We were at the hospital, and Lake Victoria was only about 2.5, 3 miles from the hospital there. So it was very interesting to see the very thing I wanted to see.
Would you be timer for a moment, please, Virginia?
I think I can.
If you had to describe your personality in terms of a farm animal, which animal would you choose? Now, this one is probably a little bit more difficult question than what I can possibly think of, but I would probably say a cat. A cat has many lives. I like to think that I have many lives. A cat has lots of different personalities. Well, that would certainly suit me just fine because I'm a Gemini personality. And so I have lots of different kind of personalities, I think. A cat is very obnoxious sometimes. And I can be very obnoxious sometimes. A cat can do many different things. It can stay home by itself all day long and nobody really has to take care of it. Well, I would think I would be a perfect cat for that because I love television. I love to watch the news. So I would make a great cat. The fact is, I can see myself meowing all day long. I would be such a great cat. So for that reason, I would choose to be a cat.
Good job. And last but not least,
Thank you, Table Topics Master. Pete. What is one item that you really should throw away, but probably never will? Probably my pajamas. I've got a pair of Pillsbury Doughboy pajamas, and they're, all stretched out and full of holes, but they're so comfortable, and I just love them. In fact, because they're the Pillsbury Doughboy, which I like, but they're just comfortable pajamas, and all the reasons I want to keep them are the same reason that my husband wants to keep all of his t-shirts that are all, need to be thrown away. And I could throw his t-shirts away, no problem, but I don't want to throw my jammies away. Thank you.
thank you. So now it's time to remember to vote and also to call on our speech evaluators to give their speech evaluations. We'll start with Donna and end with Donna and have Alan in the middle. So if Donna would you evaluate my first speech, please.
Thank you, Pete. All right, Pete's first speech, organize your speech. I thought that was a great speech. I enjoyed that you gave us very different suggestions on how to organize the speech. Preparation, very good preparation. You prepared both speeches this morning, which just blows me away. I can't figure out how you do that. I have to prepare and prepare and prepare. But you did great, and it flowed smoothly. Never would have known that you just put that together. Your beginning with the hook, book, look, took, all went together. You talked about how we should tie the opening words in with the conclusion. And then you talked about the middle of the speech is the baloney, which I'm assuming is like the meat of the sandwich, not phony baloney. And it is. It's the meat of the speech. It's the information that you're leading up to the conclusion that you want us to take away. The suggestions on organizing the speeches for the different individual manuals, whether it be the humorous speeches in the train wreck, cause and effect, comparison speeches, plan A versus plan B. I thought those were great. What could you have done differently to make the speech more effective? I thought maybe slow down. It just seemed like you were going kind of fast, but I thought the speech was great. I got lots of suggestions, so I enjoyed it. Thank you, Pete.
Jim gave a speech on the sales training speech. It was about 15 minutes. What was unique about this speaker's use of showmanship? I like the fact that you said during your speech, 8.1, you were blown away by it because of the fact you can play music on your computer from another computer in your house via the cloud and something like that. This 8.1 is the only version that can actually do that. So that's cutting edge technology, and I like how you put that in your speech. Speaker opening effective. It was effective, but I think Pete kind of gave away your opening when he gave your introduction. But I like that part of it as well. Then the speaker give the audience a system for selling, drama, demonstrate, recommend, arithmetic, measure, and anticipate objections. So I like that acronym very well. Which way did the speaker illustrate how to handle business buyers' objections? The A of the drama, last A was anticipate objections from your audience, your people you're trying to sell. So any best way to do that is be prepared for any all and any objections. So I thought that was a nice way of remembering that. Nancy, I'm supposed to ask you, did you feel that you benefited from hearing what the speaker had to say? Do you think you benefited from his presentation?
I think I did. I thought I learned a lot more than what I actually knew before. I didn't realize that XP support was going away. I thought that was interesting and knowledgeable to know.
Great. Peggy, did Jim inspire you to go out and succeed in selling this 8.1 to some other people? Do you think he gave you enough information to do that in today's
Well,
speech?
what I want more information now. He just tickled my interest, and I obviously have some antique operating systems. I've been a little bit exposed to on a phone I had before I broke it just a little while. I had Windows 8, and so I know the layout. I would have loved to see more of it in action to be convinced that's the way to go.
Thank you. Other than that, I mean, I think I have to hand it to you, Jim. You're not afraid to try different things. I admire that. You started out with a DOS, and all of a sudden here you are, 8.1, working in the cloud. Awesome. Your willingness to try new stuff is going to be a definite plus for you, and appreciate your speech on how to sell 8.1. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Pete part 2. Persuade with power, psychologists, lawyers, and philosophers. You started out with a question, are we lovers or fighters? And it piqued all of our interest, and you had a lot of questions in there. And at some point, I wasn't really sure where you were going with this speech, but that was good because I know it kept my interest, and I think it kept everybody else's interest. Okay, you got us. Now where are you going with it? But then you told us psychologists, lawyers, and philosophers what they all have in common. They all love to argue. You had some pauses, and I know in the last speech I told you to slow down, but this one, it seemed like you had some pauses that were a little long, and I didn't know if that was just, for effect, or if maybe you lost track, but no, it was all good. You made us think about various topics. Do we want to be winners, or do we want to be truthful? And then winners, you think, okay, athletes, yep, they start out to be winners, and you think that's a good thing, but then maybe it carries over into their personal life, and they just want to win at everything, and that's not always good. Being popular or being known as wise. Popular, yes, that sounds great, but that can be risky. And then, what could you have done differently to make the speech more effective? You concluded with asking us, what do we want to be? Do we want to be lovers or fighters? That definitely gave us something to think about, but maybe you could have given us some suggestions. And the topic was persuade with power, and you did a really good job. So thank you, Pete.
Thank you all. Please get your ballots to Virginia, and let's have our timers report, please, when you're ready, Nancy.
Okay. Pete had 1 awe in his first speech. It lasted 5:33. Jim had 8 awes. It lasted 13.17 minutes. Pete, on his third speech, did not have any awes at 5:43. During the table topics, Alan had 3 awes at 3 minutes and 4 seconds. Katie had 1 awe at 1 minute and 35 seconds. Virginia had 5 awes at 2.12 minutes. We didn't catch how many awes I had at 1.18. And Donna had 1 awe at 0.38 minutes. Evaluations, Donna had 1 at 1.34 minutes. Alan had 6 at 1.33 minutes. And then I had another one for Donna at 2 at 1.25 minutes.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Thank you for including our county in that job. Excellent. Just remember, I gave a 4-minute speech and had 24 hours. So you guys are I'm never gonna let you forget that you cannot beat that. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and ask Alan for his overview evaluation of the meeting, and then have Virginia report to us the results of the ballots. Alan?
Thank you, Pete. I think the meeting was a good one. It started a little later than at 12. Looks like we will be pretty close to finishing up on time for the at 1 o'clock. I think everybody kind of pitched in and filled the roles that needed to be filled when asked, and I think that's a good sign that the club is vibrant and willing to do whatever it takes to make a meeting successful. And other than that, I think it was just a very good meeting, good end to year 2013, and look forward to more productive meetings in this coming year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Virginia, how did we do?
One best evaluator, Alan.
Oh,
Good.
Best speaker was Pete.
oh,
And the best table topics was Alan. So Alan's double today. It beat me in.
Almost a hat trick. You can only give it a speech. Well done, sir. Well done.
I sure know a lot about team ethics.
Okay. Any area business, Jim?
Just report that the club in Wilson is very much alive and well. 2 brand new members. One did their first speech yesterday. He had done a speech, but this was his first real speech after the icebreaker. He works for the Department of DNRC, and he talked about winter preparedness in a way that it was not terribly well delivered, but the topic was out of the ballpark, absolutely out of the ballpark. I have been commissioned to create a club coaches manual or curriculum, if you will. And so it's a project I'll be working on, probably presenting sometime at the conference, either in Bismarck or later in the year in Sioux Falls or wherever that fall one is. So those are just updates. But
Thank you.
it's still a long ways to Willis. At 3 in the morning, it's a very long
Wow. Donna, club business?
No, I will prepare the officers' agenda probably today or tomorrow and get that sent out. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to discuss about the
Okay, we should probably visit a little bit more about the Constitution, because people have questions about what's changed, and that's a tough question to answer.
I got a call from Senator Delameter, and March 6th is the date of one of our executive meetings. That is also the date the blood draws will be done in these rooms over here. And so she is going to move us over here. She said it'll work, but we'll have to move you into that small boardroom.
Perfect.
That'll be March 6th.
Thank you.
March the 6th is a blood draw.
It's one of the days.
It's one of the days.
Peggy?
We can do it a couple of days.
Isn't the speech and drama meet in January here, and aren't they looking for judges?
They are. Someone put out, I've had a couple of emails about that, and they are, and it's like the Saturday, the 11th of January, and it's here. Who's the contact person if someone wants to do that?
I
I'll
would
be
say
out of
Emily
town.
Boyles.
Emily Boyle sent one of the emails, so she'd be a good one to let know if you can help be a judge for that Saturday. Thank you, Peggy. Appreciate that reminder. With that, we're adjourned.
Very good.
So do you have, Windows 8, can you just kind of, I am really curious.
Here, let's look at it on this computer over here.
Thanks for the flashlight, Pete.
You're welcome.
Santa?
Merry Christmas, y'all.
Merry Christmas to you.
Shut this down.